worth saying about protests and demonstrations is that successive generations have always had to fight for the right to protest and the right to demonstrate, and they've been, obviously they didn't have the sort of electronic surveillance that we have now, but they had all sorts of other ways of doing it. If you look back in history, there were always sort of spies involved in people doing this sort of thing. In Manchester in 1819, the very famous Peterloo massacre, where people were cut down in the crowd when they demonstrated. So I don't think it's a new thing, but it is something you have to assert the right to demonstrate. And one of the things we've always thought was important is that we do assert that, and we don't recognise the right of people to say you can't demonstrate here, like they say you can't demonstrate around Parliament, but we always do try and do it. In 2003, when we had 2 million people on the streets, they told us we couldn't go to Hyde Park because it would damage the grass. And we just said, we're going to go to Hyde Park, and if necessary we'll tear down the railings and, you know, if you lock the gates, we'll get in. And magically, they decided that we wouldn't damage the grass too much. So I think it's a question of asserting your rights, getting enough people so that you can, you know, you've got critical mass so you can have an effective kind of protest and really standing up for it. Because, you know, this idea about Britain is the oldest democracy in all this country, as soon as you find you want to protest against the rich and powerful in this country, you find all sorts of ways that they stop you. One of the things they're doing now, they've privatised loads of land, you know, loads of shopping centres and that, they're not allowed to do anything in. There's all those different sort of things where they make it harder and harder for people to get public spaces. And it's one of the big battles, you know, in London and all the other big cities historically, has been for the right of people to march, to occupy, to do all those different things. So, no, I think it's an important question. I don't think we should let the surveillance deter us. I think it's very important we have whistleblowers who tell us what's going on. But we should also remember that even in the most repressive conditions, as we've seen in countries like Egypt, large numbers of people do rise up against, even when they are being repressed in all sorts of ways. So I think that's the hope for us, but we should be aware that we need the numbers to stop it from happening.
Okay, now that Jeremy has joined, we'll hear from Jeremy Corbyn, who's MP and Chair of Stop the War Coalition, and we will then have a final round of contributions. Jeremy.
Can you hear me okay here? It's alright, I've known him a long time, I know to take all risks. Sorry, I'm just arriving now. I was at a very important meeting at East London Muslim Centre.